Hello, everybody. Welcome to EuroBONUS podcast. I'm the host, Donatas URBONUS, and I'm joined by my colleague, Rytis Vyšniauskas here in Berlin. So, hi, Rytis.
Hello.
Rytis, can you believe it? Our last EuroBONUS episode had more than 40,000 views.
No, I can't.
That's as crazy as this EuroBasket
Really?
experience. And it's not only about the numbers. About the feedback, the recognition, our opinion gets, let's say, among the basketball community. And the best part is that that's what we thought about, just bringing everybody together from a lot of different countries, even from United States or from South America, for example. So that we should say a huge thank you for all this community for following our podcast, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great number. I feel really happy that we see the results of our effort. And also, I love the variety of opinions in the comment section. I love that people can discuss basketball and have different point of view. They can disagree with what I'm saying, what you're saying, or they can agree with us. But all the time, you see real quality in the comment section. That's what I love the most.
What's also interesting that not only basketball fans, but also basketball people are following this podcast. For example, I was shocked when I was approached by Thanasis Antetokounmpo after such a disappointing game in quarterfinal loss, where they were thinking about EuroBasket, title, and then he just says hi and hey, I love your podcast. Listening to it, so that's huge. You also had some situations in the hotel, right? Joining some random groups.
I was about to go to sleep. I was about to go to sleep, and then I bump into people that are saying, "Oh, you're the guy from the EuroBONUS podcast," and we ended up talking for like an hour or even more. So it's a great feeling to be recognized.
Thanks a lot for not just recognition, but for just creating this community. From what I've heard, 70% of our podcast viewers still haven't subscribed to BasketNews.com YouTube channel. So please subscribe our channel because it will help us grow a lot. And of course, press like button and leave your comment in the comment section just to boost our growth. Just before we start, short introduction about Courtside 1891. They're still, if you're late to the party, because this is an amazing, the best EuroBasket I remember in terms of excitement, unpredictable results, incredible games. All the games were tied. So if you're still want to join the party, you can go on Courtside 1891, and there's a special 30% off for the rest of the tournament to enjoy the very high quality basketball here in EuroBasket. Rytis, let's talk about the biggest upset we had so far. Slovenia, the European champions, losing to Poland. What would be your first impression?
I have to sip some coffee before starting this.
Probably something stronger, yeah.
Man, I'm shocked. I'm still shocked from yesterday. I mean, it's hard to believe what happened, and honestly, Slovenians only have themselves to blame for, because this is not how you approach a quarterfinal. I don't care who you're facing, whether it's Poland or Spain or Germany or Greece, whatever. You have to respect the opponent. And Slovenians sort of started the game with NBA regular season mode. Like, we're not going to put a lot of effort on defense, but we have a lot of talent. We're going to score. They are scoring in the first quarter. That's nice. We're going to score more than them. But all of a sudden, you see that Polish players got hot. They started believing that it is possible, and they started kicking some asses. And then Slovenians, in the second quarter, lost control of the game completely.
They were down with 23.
And they lost control of their emotions as well. However, in the third quarter, they proved that when they want to, they can defend. When they want to, they can fight. And I mean, it's a bad thing when you start a fight only when you're down by 19. So yeah, they were close. They got the lead. They got in front in the fourth quarter. Probably everybody thought that once they got the lead, they're gonna win it.
It went according to script.
Yeah, but however, Poland had some magical performances. They had a triple-double from Mateusz Ponitka.
Fourth in the history, unofficially.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but in a game where Luka Doncic is playing, you're expecting him to be the triple-double guy. But no, all of a sudden it's Mateusz Ponitka, who's not known for his three-point shooting, but he really made some clutch shots like Kobe Bryant. And also AJ Slaughter in the fourth quarter when his team was down and needed some more leadership. He was the guy who took charge and he scored like 5 points in a row. He went to the paint, dished an assist to Ponitka, scored another layup, a fancy layup, I would say. And this duo of Ponitka and Slaughter kept Poland with hope, because it looked hopeless after the third quarter. Like, it seemed like they stopped hitting shots. The confidence is gone.
We say in Lithuania that sometimes you get scared of an opportunity to win the game, and it
Against
was a
a very
huge
big
opportunity.
team. Yeah.
Exactly. So it felt like in the third quarter, I mean, it was the second time in the tournament when we had this explosive first half. For example, Greece, they scored 61. It's just unbelievable in FIBA basketball. 61 first half points, and then they went for 6 points in the third quarter. Kind of the same happened with Poland. I don't remember the exact number they scored. I mean, it was like, give me a second. I mean, it was very low scoring in the third quarter, and they just lost it badly. But the difference is that, different from Greece, it felt like that they just had this opportunity. They stopped making shots, and it wasn't because of the quality of the shots. Of course, Slovenia improved in defense, but they were just wasting all the opportunities. So that's why I thought that it's done, especially when Luka, okay, he was limping at first, and Luka really looked bad in the beginning of the third quarter. He was evidently limping. He was the last to show up for the warm-up between the third quarter, and he left the warm-up actually after like 1 or 2 minute shoot around. He was evidently limping. He couldn't run the full speed. He was passing instead of doing some penetration, or he just went for outside shots because it's way easier. But then, it felt like the injection made its impact. So it felt like that Luka came back to his full speed. Slovenians got the confidence. Completely different for Poland, and I thought it was done. But what AJ Slaughter done in that crucial moment, he scored, as I said, 5 or 6 points. I don't really remember, but it was crucial 3-pointer when drive to the basket. And yeah, Ponitka, I mean, they both scored or assisted 73 of 90 Polish national team points. And of course, I agree with you. It feels like, Slovenia got punished for disrespecting the opponent and just basketball.
Being too arrogant.
And we kind of saw that already before the competition, the game against Germany. You cannot, party before the game, even though it's World Cup qualifiers. But still, I mean, especially where Slovenia is in a situation where they can actually miss the upcoming World Cup. And that that loss against Germany was crucial. And they were laid back all the time. When they were focused, they were amazing. But I mean, you cannot be like that. You cannot show up like that for the quarterfinal game. And I asked Luka, that maybe these results of Serbia and Greece impacted the mentality of some of the players, because obviously it was an issue throughout the summer. Of course, he said no, but I think that deep in their hearts, when they saw Greece failing, after Serbia, I think that they thought that it's gonna be a highway to the championship.
Well, there were some warning signals in the 8 finals, in round of 16, when they played Belgium.
It's so funny that we're talking about 8 finals, and it feels like it happened like a week ago.
Yeah,
because
I know.
Every game is some intense experience.
But there were some warning signals, because they were also laid back in that game, and Belgium was there. And in the beginning of the fourth quarter, I think it was a 1-point game. But then for Slovenia, it all clicked, and they got the win. In the end, they won by like 16 points, by a solid margin. But in this case, it was different, because Poland was there all the time, and the fan support that they had here in Berlin was also amazing. I think it really lifted the spirit of the whole Polish team, and also great coaching decisions by Igor Milicic. This also has to be said.
Of course.
And for Slovenia, I mean, a couple of talking points also in my eyes. Mike Tobey wasn't 100%, wasn't even close to 100% ever since that ankle injury happened when he landed on referee's foot.
They were also missing Zoran Dragic. I mean,
they were missing Zoran
short,
Dragic.
and he's one of the better defenders on the team,
Mike
which
Tobey
is not playing defense.
Was really struggling on defense, and Sekulic had to play a little bit more with that small lineup with Edo Muric. Some of the players were really missing good open spot-up shots because it's only 29% three-point shooting. I mean, even with that poor defending, Slovenia should beat Poland by a score of 105 against 90. But they were not making shots. And Luka Doncic, by his standards, was terrible, honestly. Yeah. I mean, look at the stat sheet. 33.3% shooting, 1 from 4 free throw shooting, 6 turnovers, and in the end he got fouled out. And it's not like he fouled out when the game was lost.
Yeah.
When he fouled out, they were down by 5 or something with less than 3 minutes to go. Yeah. So it was manageable. And even without Luka, they made that run in the last minute, and Prepelic went for the shot and went for the foul, but didn't get the call. So, you know, when your best player is fouled out in a situation where you still have a decent opportunity to win, it hits the morale of the team, in my opinion. I mean, it's hard to depend on Goran Dragic, who's playing for 37 minutes when he's 36 years old.
And the thing about these last fouls, you remember he got technical. I think that he was addressing A.G. Slaughter's layup, which, as we watched the replay, I think it was kind of obvious travel. So Luka was also showing the same to the referee. Yeah. But at the same time, I mean, Luka was always on a very thin line talking with referees for the technical foul. So he should have been smarter in that situation. Although I hate the fact that in this EuroBasket, usually players or coaches receive technical foul after. In the most cases, they're right. I mean, in the most cases, referees are wrong in some decisions, but they just explode emotionally, and they got technical, and it really irritates me. But at the same time, Luka, knowing the importance of the situation, he should have been much calmer. And the thing that the last fifth call was also like, it felt like he a little bit lost the feel of the game, because it was, of course, all kudos to Ponitka. It was very smart play, very smart fake, but usually, Luka is just skipping all these situations, first of all, because he's not putting all the defensive effort. And at the same time, he's trying to avoid the foul trouble. So it was a weird situation. But if you talk about Luka, yes, his numbers were terrible. Maybe it was also related to the fact that he wasn't healthy, and he already had these ankle concerns before the game. But if we're talking about the guys who were laid back or disrespected the game, although Luka was bad, although once again he was talking to referees, just was lying on the ground in some situations, and it caused transition points. To me, I think that Luka was kind of always having the same approach for the opponent. To me, it felt like the others underestimated Poland. At first, you can feel it, from their defensive approach, no intensity, no physicality. They cannot come back in transition. They also look bad in half-court defense. But just, to me, it's very weird, because it's not the first time that, Luka, okay, his numbers are very average by his standards, but I mean, at least it feels like his mentality was here. He was fighting for the game. Okay, maybe he was wasting energy too much, but others, I think that they let the country down as well, and they're not as good to act like that. I mean, I think that they kind of got lost in this dream where they became way better players playing with Luka Doncic, but just take Luka Doncic out of the game and put them individually in every other situation, and this is really average team. It's very well equipped, lined up to play with Luka Doncic. But if you take him out of the game, it's very tough for this group of guys.
I can only say a few compliments to Jaka Blažić and Vlatko Čančar.
Čančar played his best game.
They were two players who wanted to win really, and they were fighting. And the way Jaka Blažić was pressing the ball handlers in the second half. Because in the first half, Poland, I believe, they went with 0 turnovers for 15 minutes. This just shows that there was no pressure on ball. I mean, it was very easy for them to create shots, to create opportunities. And I mean, 0 turnovers in 15 minutes at this level. Slovenia obviously suffered also because, like I said, of poor shooting. I remember the sequence in the fourth quarter when the game was still really close. Luka missed 2 free throws, and then in the next possession, he missed his usual step-back jumper. So, these are the shots that can change the game. But the sad thing about the Slovenian team, I mean, first of all, Luka, as he said in the press conference, as long as he's healthy, he's always going to play for his national team if they qualify for the World Cup, for example, next year. But Goran Dragic, for him, maybe this is a goodbye. He made a comeback just for this EuroBasket, and this is not the way he imagined it. I mean, losing in the quarterfinals, losing to Poland, this is how you say goodbye. Maybe right now Goran might be having some regrets, because when he retired after 2017, he retired as a champion. Nobody really expected him to come back, but he did. And I'm not criticizing his game. He has passion for the game. That's obvious when you're 36 and you still want to continue with the national team. But I just cannot see him playing any more summers for the national team, knowing that he has a really serious injury past. So, and next year, if they're without Goran Dragic, the only thing that has to change for them, because more or less you will have a similar roster, with maybe some of these younger guys improving. But the mentality of the team, the approach has to change. You need to start respecting the other teams. You need to start behaving better on the court. You need to be more respectful, because when people see players constantly complaining to the refs, fans don't respect teams like that. The neutral fans don't want to see this. They want to see pure basketball. And Slovenia started the tournament by complaining, and they finished the tournament by complaining.
It felt like they took it from the last year's Olympics semifinals, because we all loved Slovenia when they qualified through the qualifying tournament, the way how they started the Olympic tournament. Yep. But the end was disgusting, because, as you said, body language, wasting this energy, talking to referees, complaining about everything. It's just hard to watch team acting like this. And it felt like in this tournament, they just took it from there, and in a lot of situations when they were facing some adversity, something was going on, and it had some terrible look. Yeah. Players fighting each other, players fighting Coach Sekulic. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that they have to talk to each other for the future competitions. But what I like about Luka Doncic, talking about his leadership, that he was the only one star player from this big three of the tournament that showed up to the press conference, addressed the issue, addressed the
He took responsibility.
Yeah,
and he said, I disappointed the whole country.
He took the responsibility where he wasn't even asked to. The question was way different. My colleague Jonas Mikla was asking him about his condition during the game, and of course he was not 100%. But then he took the responsibility for letting the whole team and the country down. So that was a huge thing from Luka. In my eyes, he's still a super young player. I just hope that current FIBA format and the rest of Slovenian players who are not playing in EuroLeague or the NBA will provide him an opportunity to suit up for Slovenia in these big tournaments. But what he did, I mean, it was big, because I don't know, you kind of expecting it from Nikola Jokic, because it's not like that he hates media. He just hates public speaking. So he just avoids every media availability as possible. I was a little bit surprised that Giannis Antetokounmpo didn't show up, because he's very great. He's a great guy. He has right approach. So I just thought that in this tough situation, he might say something to his country. But anyways, we're talking a lot about Slovenia. You already mentioned about Coach Igor Milicic, and I mean, I think that he's one of these upcoming coaches in European basketball. He was already in a lot of conversations for bigger teams. A couple years ago, he was considered by bigger Russian market clubs. Now I heard that he was in conversations with Spanish and German teams, and I really hope that this tournament, this campaign, because he took the team just recently, might
Mike Taylor is actually now a commentator.
Exactly.
He was leading.
And Mike Taylor was also doing a good job. He kind of created this bond with this Polish national team. And what I want to say that at one point, it's like a huge upset. But at the same time, this team led by Ponitka, they were going towards the goal. Of course, nobody could dream that the goal could be beating Slovenia and making the semifinals, creating one of the biggest surprises. I mean, there's only Macedonia who surprised us as much as Poland, talking about the semifinal teams. Yeah. Although Macedonia, they had players like Bo Makala, Pero Antic, they had EuroLeague players. This team doesn't have a single EuroLeague player. One guy is playing in the second French division. Of course, Mateusz Ponitka.
He's EuroLeague quality.
EuroLeague material.
It's just that next season he's not playing.
That's for sure. And this, you can.
I mean, if we were predicting upsets before the tournament, Poland was very low on my list of possible upsets. I probably in my predictions bracket had them 5th in their group because of some reasons, like. For example, they were not playing particularly well in the World Cup qualifiers.
Yeah.
Before the championship, they had this conflict with Ponitka brothers. That probably doesn't help.
Before Ponitka had a conflict with the country, basically, because of his decision to come back to St. Petersburg.
So you had all these issues. And in the group stage, I've witnessed them being trashed by Finland. Like by 30. Who would have known that this is the team that's going to go to the semis and surprise everybody? I mean, we're living in a world where 3 of the best players in the whole planet are out of the EuroBasket, and this roster without a single EuroLeague name is continuing and playing for medals. Well, this is really crazy. And again, we were talking that they had a relatively easy path. Like the group was not the strongest. I mean, it was very... There was Serbia and the other teams were very similar. And in the round of 16, they faced Ukraine. Again, a team that's compared to Poland more or less the same strength. But then we thought like, they had some luck in the World Cup in 2019 when they went to the quarterfinals. This is sort of the same story, but it's going to be over by the time the quarterfinal starts. I don't know what else to say. But I mean, I can only imagine how many people from Poland will be there in Berlin for the semifinals. So.
I talked with Polish journalists and they told that, although there are a lot of Polish people, Poland is not far away from Germany, but ticket prices are, let's say, questionable and it's not clear how many Polish fans might come.
I mean, they're not a basketball country, but the funny thing is that like...
They're creating one of the best atmospheres here after Greek fans probably.
When they start that song, On Tańcza dla mnie, I believe that's the name of it, they were going wild. But, the funny thing about Poland and sports is that for years they had such high expectations and hopes for their football national team with Robert Lewandowski, one of the best players in the world, and they always disappointed, always, in every single competition, whether they lose in group stages or later. I mean, even the last Euros, they didn't qualify from their group. They were really disappointing to watch. And all of a sudden, basketball team that has no high expectations and nobody probably even dreams about semifinals. They're here.
They had some expectations when they had Marcin Gortat, Maciej Lampe, Thomas Kelati.
Yes, they had some bigger names at that time, but they never went past the quarterfinals.
But we have to admit, I mean, that's a fun team to watch, even starting from the 8 finals. I couldn't follow them in the group stage for obvious reasons, but even though the game against Ukraine was tough, I mean, they played nice team basketball.
Yeah, they play solid basketball, solid offensive-minded basketball. And, I mean, we're talking about 2 names, Slaughter and Ponitka, but some other guys are really thriving right now. Balcerowski is a very young talent from Gran Canaria. Who knows, maybe someday he will be a EuroLeague player. And some other players that are not very well known on club level, like Michal Sokolovsky, for example.
He's like a hockey player, being so physical with all the opponents.
And they don't have a deep bench, but Igor Milicic survives with this intensive rotation of players. He's rotating usually 8 or 9 players only, but it works for them. So just kudos to Poland. And I mean, we're a basketball country. For us, the tournament is over, but our neighbors are creating something special, and I'm really happy for them.
Yeah, and... There was this iconic photo of A.G. Slaughter and his son taking the picture with Jokic and Doncic. And yesterday we just tweeted it with the caption, "Hold my baby, I've got semifinal to play." I mean, this was an iconic moment, really.
So, like right now...
By the way, Slaughter is a great guy. I think that he's playing for Poland since 2015 for many years.
Something like that.
And he's always there for the team. He really increases the level of this team, and he's just a pure baller. I mean, he just loves to play.
Do you think Jokic and Doncic were taking the photo with Slaughter, not vice versa?
I mean, I
Maybe they
believe
wanted
that
an autograph.
this little baby will be surprised when he will hear the story about the coincidences, about the stuff, what happened later, and what were these two guys, the importance of these two guys.
Yeah.
And let's hope that we will see Mateusz Ponitka in the EuroLeague. He has this contract with Reggio Emilia. I think it's a 3-month contract, or that contract has outs. But I mean, probably these GMs of Reggio Emilia are super happy right now.
26 points, 16 rebounds, 10 assists. What else to be said?
Crazy. And from what I hear, he has out in November. It shouldn't be a huge amount for a buyout, but I mean, at least for 3 months, they're gonna take care of his rights, let's say, so they can ask whatever money they want.
And we remember Xavi Pascual using him as a defensive-oriented player that's a little bit of a playmaker on offense, but not a scorer.
He was doing great.
He was never a scorer
there.
for Xavi Pascual. He has a lot of good qualities, but in EuroLeague, we never saw him shooting the lights out like he did here in Berlin. And clutch shots, not only just simple spot-up shots. He hit tough clutch shots in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, so let's go to another upset. Greece.
It's not that much of an upset knowing how well Germany really played.
It's an upset in terms of where we saw Greece in the final phase of the competition, fighting for the title, but not being eliminated in the quarterfinals. But I agree with you. I mean, I remember I wrote an article about Germany that it's a fun team to watch, and it's a team to watch in this tournament after their first couple of games in the group phase. And they just increased their level throughout the competition. And for me now, it's probably I just love to watch this team. I mean, they have everything from personalities to talents. Wagner, Schroeder, Thijs, mobile lineups. I mean, I'm not surprised at all that they threw Greeks out of the competition.
This is the case when I don't really want to say anything too bad about Greece. I just want to praise Germany for how they played, for their energy. I mean, Greece was also playing on a very high level if you look at the offense and the numbers and the shooting percentages. After Slukas hit that crazy buzzer beater, they were up by 4, but Germany was shooting crazy from the very beginning. I mean, Andreas Sops was like the second coming of Reggie Miller, and then
Steph Curry, I think.
Dennis Schroeder was hitting shots, even though during the tournament he was not that consistent shooting from free. Franz Wagner, he played through an injury. It didn't really bother him that much when he saw that gym is packed, the atmosphere is amazing, and he went in ISO against Giannis, and you could see that I want this challenge, and he does the nice sidestep and hits a free.
By the way, his story is interesting because he scored 26 points, I'm talking about Schroeder. Sorry,
19
points, 4 rebounds, 5 of 7 from the 3-point line. And I know that there were a lot of people who really thought that he won't show up because he had this injury. There's always NBA people around these NBA players. For example, from what I heard, at least 5 people from Milwaukee followed Giannis with the national team here. Some others had like one person.
I mean, they have a guy on the staff that's from Milwaukee Bucks.
Yes, so Orlando also had at least one guy here, and there was even between NBA people there was let's say, they thought that he's not going to play just because of this injury. So that tells a lot about this young kid's character.
Too big of a game to skip. I mean, this
playing at home. I mean,
how often you will get this opportunity? Maybe this is the only chance in your whole career to play a EuroBasket at home in Berlin. So I was not surprised that he played. Maybe I was surprised how well he played, knowing that he was hurt. And there were so many players on the German team that probably played above their limits. Like Daniel Thijs, usually he's in a foul trouble when he has to face these very physical opponents. But in this game, they really recreated the Berlin Wall against Giannis. And Thijs was super solid with a double-double of 13 points and 16 rebounds, 6 offensive rebounds. And the problem for Greece, like they couldn't cope with Germans shooting the way they did, and they just couldn't respond in the second half. They started missing open shots, wide open spot-up shots, because every team is taking those risks against Greece because they want to control Giannis as much as possible. So they're suffering with these wide open shots from the corners. Papa Petru, Papa Nicolau, even Dorsey. They didn't have a good night shooting the ball.
But I think the problems started from the beginning. I think that Greeks just let Germans to build this confidence. And of course, there was a lot of luck. I mean, I think that the first three-pointer by Obst was from the backboard. Schroeder is making contested shots. Thijs making three-pointers. Wagner after the dribble three-pointers. Schroeder, I think that he made three three-pointers. I mean, there was a lot of luck behind it, but at the same time, I mean, 25 points per 5 minutes. And the problem is that Greeks, they made their first team foul like in the 7th or 8th minute of the game. Yeah. I think that they were not physical, intensive, and tough enough in the beginning of the game just to make them uncomfortable, because we all knew that this team might go crazy, might fire up very quickly. They have enough talent, and I just think that they didn't do enough to try to stop them from having such nights. But of course, it had a lot of luck included in this situation.
Gordy Herbert punished Greece with the same set for Andreas Obst like 4 or 5 times during the same game. I don't know how Greece didn't have a response to that, because it was the same set. He gets these off-ball screens and he does some off-ball movement and he's open for a three-pointer. And we know from the EuroLeague that he can get hot. I mean, by the way he's playing in this championship, Andrea Trinchieri probably has to increase his minutes. Like, you cannot imagine a guy that's averaging 15 points in the EuroBasket getting back to the 9th or 10th man in the rotation for Bayern Munich, because he's a pure shooter and he has a lot to offer by his off-ball movement also. So, yeah, I agree with you about this physicality thing and being more aggressive from the very beginning defensively. However, when you watch the first half, it looked like Greece is okay because Germany is living from 3-point shots.
There was that feeling that as soon as they will start missing shots.
Yes, because Greece had Giannis with good numbers after the first half. And he finished the game with 31 points, 30 from 22 shooting, and 8 assists, 7 rebounds. It's okay. Of course, it was an unfortunate ending for Giannis. The tournament ended with a second unsportsmanlike foul, and he was ejected from the game. But at that point, the game was already lost, in my opinion. So it didn't really have that much impact. Yeah,
the most impactful thing was the third quarter. If I'm right, they scored the first shot from the field like with 2 minutes to play in the third quarter. And you mentioned Berlin Wall, and I think it had a lot to do stopping Greeks' offense. It's crazy to think that you score 61 points in the first half and then only 6 points in the third quarter. Sorry, 10 points still. Polish team, they scored 6 points. And it had a lot to do with this Berlin Wall. And what was interesting that after the game, every German player I talked to, they said that, we basically did the same what Czech Republic team did in the 8th final game. And if you remember well, Giannis scored only 4 points in the first half. Just later, he found his rhythm. And I tried to do research about this Berlin or Czech wall. You can call it whatever you want. I called Ronen Ginsburg and he told some interesting things. And when you think about it, I mean, Giannis Wall is already a big thing in States since 2019, basically. It took a lot of time for Milwaukee to figure out, to find the assets, how to break this wall and how to win the championship. The problem is that in FIBA basketball, there's no defensive 3-second violation
that's
rule.
What I wanted to
so you can make it even thinner. And that's what they did. Just like Ronen Ginsburg told me. He said that, I watched the game from 2019 and the World Cup. If you remember, it was the last game for Greece because they had to win by 12, but they won by 7, and they did a great job against Giannis. But Ronen Ginsburg decided to make this defense even more radical, I would say. He just always had one player in front of Giannis, and he kept always one big guy inside the basket. So if he beats your first opponent, you will face another one. And the thing is that, of course, on sides, you have help. And basically, Giannis, whenever he tried to penetrate, he was facing four-man defense. And it felt like it took him a while to figure out what was going on. And at the same time, on the other end of the floor, Germans just continued to making crazy shots. We all remember Franz Wagner making all these step-back threes over Giannis Antetokounmpo. Again, a lot of luck was there as well behind this 17 3-point mark. But I really loved this move. But even more, I love this behind the story that German team basically took what they did. And as we talked with Ginsburg, the big thing was to stop Giannis in transition. That's another part of this.
Yeah, that's why you need to limit your turnovers.
Yeah, there are two things. It's not just about defense. If you score the ball, you stop the game, basically.
Yes,
so you eliminate fast break points. And at the same time, scoring in this way like Germans did, it helped them a lot. That's what maybe Czechs were missing. Yeah. And I remember Ginsburg saying that I asked my players to run the possession as long as it's possible. And if you're driving and you see that there's no clear path to score the ball, it's better just to let it go out of bounds instead of being blocked by some of Greek players, mainly Giannis Antetokounmpo, and then just get this fast break opportunity. So
those are really smart points from Ron and Ginsburg. I mean, we said that Coach Ginsburg is really underrated. He's a great basketball mind.
He's going to work for Prometey, Ukrainian team next season. Huge win for such club.
Good luck to him, but he could work for a EuroLeague club, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like Maccabi Tel Aviv, they're going for Oded Katash, Ginsburg. Might be even a better fit. Anyways, those are great points, and I completely agree with that. Germany had only 11 turnovers. They limited their turnovers.
Yeah.
They had a good shooting percentage. Usually the shots they missed, they were not like shots that fell far away from the basket so that Greece could take the ball and go straight for a fast break opportunity.
Yeah, Greece scored only 8 fast break points, which is a huge win.
And one of the biggest adjustments Giannis has to make when he's playing under FIBA rules, I mean, we've talked in our previous podcast that right now he's much smarter and much better than he was in 2019. However, when, for example, you have Giannis playing in the low post, the rim protector can stand there for as much as he wants because there's no defensive 3-second rule. So Giannis usually has to go for a fadeaway mid-range jumper, which is not as consistent as Giannis attacking the rim from the paint, obviously. And that's the issue. And as a coach, you cannot find a way how to solve this. It is what it is. Unless Giannis starts shooting 40% from 3-point range, it will always be like that. You will always have to live with these situations, and there's nothing else you can do. So Giannis, he closed the game against Czech Republic, with 2 3-pointers. Yeah. But in this game, those shots were not going in.
The problem that other guys who's supposed to make those shots, like Tyler Dorsey, he went only 2 of 7. Nikolaitis, 0 of 4. Slukas, 1 of 4. I mean, Papapetru, 1 of 4. Most of these guys, they're below average shooters, but it's even by their standards, these are low numbers. So it's a big mix, a big combination of bad things that happened for Greece. And the biggest problem for Greece national team and Dimitris Zitoudis is that it's not the NBA, it's not the EuroLeague. You cannot sign players who can shoot the ball. You cannot sign point guards. And the Greek talent pool, Greek shooters pool is limited. And there's not much room for any adjustment and improvement looking for the future competition. So,
what? I just thought now, for Giannis, Germany would be a better fit as a basketball team. He would be surrounded by amazing shooters in every position.
Of course.
Guys like Voigtman, Wagner, Obst. Yeah. I mean, the bigs are shooting in the German team.
Modelo,
Even, Daniel Theiss and Johannes Thiemann, they are capable of hitting shots. So if you put Giannis in the German team, it's probably a better fit basketball-wise. But as Zitoudis said, in the national team basketball, you have to play with what you have It's not like you're signing players who can fit your system. Well, obviously in FIBA you can have one naturalized player, and teams are going for a point guard usually. But for Greece, it's a different case. They don't want to just give passports for nothing.
You know what I liked? Talking with players, with coach, just hearing the general feedback after the game in Greece. There's no such thing as it was the catastrophe and now had to fall off.
Yeah.
It felt like what also says a lot about the team, that they were so united that this loss, they won't start blaming each other. They're not looking for another coach, and this team will stay united. I remember after the interview. By the way, I have to think about what I'm saying about Greece national team, because it turns out that Thanasis Antetokounmpo is also a listener and viewer of this podcast. So I have to be very serious about what I'm saying, especially about Antetokounmpo brothers.
Thanasis is a nice guy.
No, he's
it's not
cool
like
guy.
he's gonna attack
Of course.
you.
No, I'm just kidding. He's a very nice dude. But what I want to say, that I remember there was this moment when he actually approached me after the game, after the loss. He was waiting for Dimitris Itoudis to finish his media session, the last interview in the mix zone, and he saw me. He just approached me and said that he's listening to the podcast. Good job, and he wished that we will bring it to the United States. But I believe that also has a lot to do with the help of Antetokounmpo brothers. I think that they have enough resources to help us, so we'll see. But anyway, he then just hugged Dimitris Itoudis. They just slowly went to the locker room. I mean, we saw emotions from Larenzakis, for example. He was so passionate. He played his best basketball ever for the national team.
Saw some serious trash talking from Larenzakis, from Schroeder.
He gave his all, for his team. I mean, you saw the pain, but you felt that it was just a natural emotion of very united group of guys. So there's just this hope that in the following tournaments they're gonna get better. They will try to figure out how to beat this Giannis or any other wall they're gonna face.
It's just a different kind of upset. Like when we're talking about Slovenia, we're talking about Slovenians, what they didn't do and what they should have done. When we're talking about this, it's more about the Germans, more about how good they were, and you just have to accept that. And I think Itoudis said something like, when you're playing a knockout competition where it's not a best of 3 or best of 5 series, things can always happen. And things happened. I mean, you replay the game once again with more or less the same shots. I don't think Germany would hit 17 3-pointers. But it was just one of those nights.
I think they already had such night. They might even make 18 3-pointers.
Against
in the group stage,
Lithuania,
I
double
checked,
overtime.
Could be that game.
But that was a 50-minute game.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, exactly. It was against Lithuania, I think.
Right. So there's another game. That's probably one of the strangest stories.
One last point.
Okay.
We have Giannis out. We have Luka out. Jokic is also out.
Yep.
3 potential MVPs. Who do you see as the next MVP? Because what is interesting that at first you also heard all these chants, in the stands. At first it was for Nikola Jokic, then Luka Doncic MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now we're hearing Johannes Timman is making free throw. We're hearing MVP chants. Marcos Piso is making free throws. MVP chants. Ponitka, the same.
Everyone's an MVP on this stage. So you're asking me who's my pick for the MVP?
Yeah.
Well, probably depends on who's going to win the gold medal. And I think if France goes for gold, it's going to be Rudy Gobert. Although there's an interesting case for Thomas Hurtel to be the MVP, the man who has been left in the airport by Barcelona and the man who has been left out of the roster by Pablo Lasso.
Who was almost left out from national team roster because of his deal with Zenit.
Now he's one of the heroes of the French team. So, I mean, if France wins it, I think Rudy Gobert. If Germany wins it, Dennis Schroeder looks closest to the...
It's going to be between Wagner and Schroeder.
To MVP. It depends on how they perform in the semifinal and in the final. If Spain wins it...
It's a tough one.
You would have to pick
Lorenzo
between
Brown,
Willian
Gomez,
and Lorenzo Brown. And it, again, depends on how they will perform. If Poland wins it, it's Ponitka, the man who had a triple-double. So, but since I predicted France to win gold from the very beginning...
You're in a good situation.
Although I don't really believe in them that much right now because they should have been home already.
Twice.
But right now, since I'm predicting France, I'm also predicting the Eiffel Tower, Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, because I remember how bad he was in the group stage. I mean,
he improved with every game.
Exactly, that's the thing. That's the best thing about him, because I remember Lithuania is playing France. We have this Valančiūnas-Gobert matchup. We're just killing them in the first minutes of the game, and you have this feeling, I just want Rudy Gobert in the court more because I know that we're gonna expose him, and that's what happened. I mean, Mustafa Fall, basically he stopped that run of Lithuanian national team, but then he improved so much that he saved their asses in the game against Turkey. He once again was super important with his stip-ins, with his rebounding, with his shot blocking, with his just general presence on the court. So yeah, he's having a potential MVP run for this tournament. But for the other picks, I would completely agree with you. And I remember that my colleague Tommy Hook in the hotel, he told that I think it happened only 50 or 60 years ago when the player outside the semifinal teams won the MVP. So probably we're gonna rule out any Giannis, Jokic, or Luka consideration. He was although great, he was great.
He was great. Despite the fact he missed those 2 free throws, he was amazing in every game.
Yeah, but I just like the fact that, we're gonna kind of appreciate all these other stars, alternative MVPs who will eventually become the real MVPs of the EuroBasket.
The real MVP for France is Lady Luck. Nobody else.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Twice you're in a situation where you're down 75-77.
The same.
Like 16 or 19 seconds left.
77, 75?
Yes. Yeah. They were down 75-77. 16 or 19 seconds left. Something like that. And the only difference is against Turkey, it was an unsportsmanlike foul. In this case, it was just a common foul.
Things even worse. But the next thing about Italy is that you have a 89% free throw shooter.
And
what?
Your best player is on the line.
Yeah.
I mean, if he hits both, probably that's game over. If he hits one, well, then
still in
then you
very
can
good
foul
situation.
them. You're leading by 3. There are obvious options you can go for. All of a sudden, the best player on the court misses 2 free throws. France get the rebound. Thomas Hurtel goes for the layup. He ties the game. Italy still has 5 seconds, and they had a decent opportunity, actually. Fontecchio with his right hand, he can hit that semi-hook shot, but he missed it. And then in the overtime, France was the better team. But look, it's like Groundhog Day. The same game, the same things happen. France is in a good position after 2 quarters. They're leading by 7. And then the third quarter. I cannot explain why France is so terrible in the third quarter of the basketball game. And every time it's the same. They are leading the EuroBasket in turnovers. They're averaging more than 17 turnovers per game. It's like unprecedented when a team with 17 turnover average is in the semifinals.
Something is wrong with their locker room speech, I think.
I don't get it. How is this continuing to happen every single game? And they still survive. They still survive in the fourth quarter. I mean, Evan Fournier was not that good shooting the ball, like 6 from 17.
For him.
Thomas Hurtel started taking care of business in the fourth quarter when things were tough. I mean, Gershon Yabusele had some great fighting spirit from him, and obviously Gobert doing what he does, but
It's hard to talk about France because I love so many things about Italy that we just have to address. The first thing that they finished the game with 12 3-pointers, which is okay, although it's an overtime game. But I mean, what was the most interesting that we remember the game against Serbia, crazy number of shots they made from the 3-point line, 16 3-pointers if I'm correct, and it felt like there was some luck behind it. Okay, some shots were open because they were just killing Nikola Jokic offensively. But, guys went really hot. But in this game, they stayed in the game without making 3-pointers. With a very average 3-point
and I can tell you why.
Tell me, my friend.
It's kind of obvious. France is different. Rudy Gobert is different than Jokic.
Of course.
And the pick and pops were not working because they were switching.
Better suited team to defend the 3-point
France
line.
was switching.
But they still stayed in the game.
Yeah.
And I love so many things about this team. For example, Nicola Melli started the game really badly. But later on, especially during the second half run, he was very important on both sides of the floor. Marko Spisu, I mean, he can have this great night against Serbia, but can you expect the consecutive back-to-back performance from Marcos Piso? 21 points.
20 or more points in both of these games.
I mean, that's incredible. And Fontecchio was just Fontecchio. I mean, just as Luigi De Thomas said, what I also, once again, liked that when I made this question about him missing the free throws, I never had an idea that, that it's time to kill this player because, he's such a great shooter and what the hell is going on. But I think that, sometimes fans, we have these examples. Giedrius Gustas in Lithuania, 2004. And
did you have to?
These free throws killed his reputation for the rest of his life, although it was not his fault. Tanaka Bird was, okay, anyways, old story. But
I can't believe we're going through this again.
The problem is that I think that in Italy, there might be some fans, there are not many basketball fans, but that there might be some fans who would be, attacking him. But what I loved, not only from Gianmarco Pozzecco, who told also a good story about these missed shots, but also Luigi De Thomas, he just interrupted before going to the next question and said that without Simone, we wouldn't even be here.
Of course.
And there's no room, there's no conversation where you can criticize Fontecchio for missing these free throws, and I completely agree with him. But it just shows how united this team was, and everybody was fighting for each other, starting with the head coach, assistant coach, coaching staff, players, and the whole team.
Well, what I've learned about Fontecchio, once again, although I knew it before the EuroBasket, but this EuroBasket just proved it on the highest level, that the Utah Jazz made a great signing, and he could be a great replacement for Joe Ingles, who has played there for many years, because Fontecchio does everything. He can drive to the left, he can drive to the right, he can post up. If he has a mismatch, he can shoot the free, he can make a tough fadeaway shot, and he can be a playmaker. He can create opportunities for others, which makes him a decent option in pick and roll.
And so he's strong and he's good defensively.
He has everything.
He's all-around player.
All the tools to be a successful NBA player, and I hope he will be a good fit.
Is he going to be a monster, as Pozzecco said?
I'm not sure about the monster, but he could be a great replacement for Joe Ingles. That's my take. And about France, one more thing I wanted to say. Actually, some of the decisions Vincent Collet made probably helped Italy. Because in the first half, they were okay, leading by 7. They were rotating Gobert and Poirier. They're playing switch all defense. It's kind of working. It's okay.
Suddenly,
it's okay. All of a sudden, in the third quarter, the coach decides, why not go for Mustafa Fall? And in the very first possession, Italy played pick and roll with Melli, and it's an and one. Mustafa Fall played 5 minutes. He has the plus-minus rating of -11. Then in the fourth quarter, the coach thinks I need another ball handler on the court because these guys are struggling. Why not go for Elio Kobo, who hasn't played for 3 quarters?
Move, right? I was so surprised.
What? And at this point, I thought, that's it. That's desperation. The game's lost.
Just like what Itudis did in the fourth quarter, with some very strange lineups.
But then Tom Martel happened, and then the missed free throws happened, and France is in the semifinals. I cannot believe it. I mean, when I was predicting that they will win the gold medal, I really thought they will win it by playing some solid, consistent basketball. They're not solid. They're not consistent. I didn't calculate the whole result of their total third quarters in the tournament, but it should be some terrible numbers. But they're here. Somehow they're here.
And they're playing Poland. If they wins this EuroBasket, I just hope that they will do it in a solid way, like true champions. I cannot stand any more
Another thing about them. When they qualified from the group, people were calculating. They're facing Serbia in the quarterfinals. Yeah. They didn't face Serbia in the quarterfinals. They faced Italy. When they faced Italy, people were saying, okay, but they're facing Slovenia in the semifinals. They're not facing Slovenia in the semifinals. They're facing Poland. What's happening here?
Something is here from the top, By the way, is that true? I don't know if that's true, but is that true that as soon as Slovenia was kicked out of the tournament, Rudy Gobert tweeted that two more... Oh my gosh.
Yes.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Yeah, two more, man.
Okay. The last pair, probably the shortest one for the discussion. Spain is doing Spain things.
I want to give a shout out to Rudy Fernandez.
Semifinals, EuroBasket semifinals every year since 1999. Wow.
And I just want to give shout out to Rudy Fernandez. He's a legend of the game. Although hate him or love him, there are obvious reasons to have some hatred
And
towards
that's
Rudy.
a huge recognition from Lithuanian side because 99% of basketball fans in Lithuania, they just hate him.
We know he's a dirty player. We know he likes to flop and all these things, but he has so much passion for the national team, playing through injuries, being 37, being the captain of the team, and making clutch shots, just proving how good he is, how he enjoys those big moments and big games. So a lot of respect to Rudy Fernandez. And Spain had trouble in this game. They were down by 15 in the first half. Their defense was not working. And not only because of Lauri Markkanen and other Finnish players were hitting shots and punishing Spain. But Spain kind of changed their game in the second half because they were not shooting that great from free. They started just going through the pick and rolls of Lorenzo Brown and Villi Gomez. Villi was unstoppable. Finland didn't have those strong bodies to contain him.
He's having a great tournament.
He's having a great tournament, really 27 points, 10 from 13 field goals in this game. And
it all started from Rudy, actually, because they had this locker room speech. I remember I asked Garuba, what kind of tactical adjustments Scariolo made, because we all know that he likes to do some crazy things on the court, but he told it was all about the emotional side of the team, and Rudy had some bad words to say, so he addressed the team, and that's the most impressive thing about Rudy for me, is that when I watch him, it really feels, and especially in the knockout stage, it feels like this is the last tournament for him, right? The way he's diving for every ball, the way he's doing this Dennis Rodman things, he's crashing almost into the cameras, into the stands. He's going for every possible deflection. He's making all these clutch shots. It feels like this is the last tournament, but the best thing is that it's not. He has this idea of still playing in Olympic Games, for example, although he's 37. He always banged up. He always questionable for any of the game or the tournament. He shows up. Usually in the second half of the game, he makes some clutch 3-pointers, he makes some crucial steals, and although on the stat sheet, that's the thing when we had this discussion for the MVP conversation. Okay, there is Villi Gomez, amazing numbers, Lorenzo Brown, but when you're thinking about the MVP, you think about the leadership example and the impact for the game. Rudy Fernandez probably makes the biggest impact for his team defensively and offensively, and especially on the games when it's matter against Lithuania. We all remember Usman Garuba taking offensive rebound, sending the ball beyond the arc, and Rudy's making 2 crucial 3-pointers. Basically, the same happened against Finland. It was just even worse. He was making these 9-meter last-second 3-pointers. And they just killed Finland, which was amazing. I felt that so bad because they had this really legit historical chance to make the semifinals, and they really deserved it. So,
yeah, but Rudy also had 5 steals, and Spain scored 33 points from turnovers, so that's a huge number. Finland only had 12 points from Spain turnovers, and I think Scariolo also found some X factors in the second half, like Juancho Hernangomez.
Found 6 factors.
He always does that. Juancho Hernangomez really had some big moments, and also Dario Brisella. As a role player, he stepped up. I know him as a good shooter from the ACB league. It didn't really surprise me that he can hit an open shot, but he played really with a lot of confidence, and he ended the game with 14 points in 17 minutes. But just a huge shout out to Finland. I know the dream ended in the quarterfinals, but they beat Croatia. They went through the group stage with some really attractive, sexy basketball. And Lauri Markkanen was just a monster, a scoring machine in this tournament. Even in this quarterfinal game, he finished with 28 points and 10 from 17 shooting. So it's an exciting team to watch. I just hope they continue to qualify for these big tournaments, because it's obviously difficult when during the qualifying windows they don't have Lauri, and he's the star of the show. So we'll see what happens with Finland in the future, but they add a lot of beauty to the EuroBasket, in my opinion.
We have Poland, France starting semifinal, then Germany, Spain.
When you're saying it sounds surreal.
It's like football championship.
I saw a tweet from somebody saying that semifinals, the expectation, like Giannis versus Luka, the reality, Brisella and Sokolovsky.
Okay.
Something like that.
And talking about these predictions, it just useless. I mean, you don't need to predict anything.
I don't want to
because-
predict anything
Exactly.
anymore. I'm just
We
sticking
look
to
like
my
morons.
I'm just sticking to my initial prediction that France is going to win the gold medal. But
How it
but
doesn't
from
matter.
these 4 teams, the most consistent
Yeah.
one playing the best basketball is Germany,
That's true.
for sure.
That I'm not saying that they deserve the title the most, but let's say their game, the attractiveness of their game, all-around game, puts them in a position where they deserve
From the
this
very
title
beginning,
the
just look at their performances. In the opener, they beat France by a big margin, like 13 points, something like that. Then they beat Lithuania in a double overtime thriller. Yeah, they lost to Slovenia, but they lost after a tough fight. And then they finished the group stage in a good position. In the 8 finals, they didn't have that much problem with Montenegro. And in the quarterfinals, that was probably the best team performance we've seen in the tournament so far against a very, very strong opponent, Greece. So, in my opinion, they're the most consistent and the best team out of the 4. But it's a knockout stage, and you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and they're facing Spain, and Spain tends to ruin things. I mean, they have enough tactical tools to surprise us all. And if Spain wins this EuroBasket, I mean, we have to just bring crown to Coach Scariola and just call him the GOAT of GOATs in FIBA basketball head coaching. And that's it. France, if they're going to win the EuroBasket, I mean, it's just we in every conversation we'll have to include the factor
How
of
it happened.
luck, how important it is behind any
But
sports.
maybe France deserves some luck, because do you remember in 2005 how they lost to Greece?
I actually don't.
They
From what I
were-
remember,
they were
from
up by-
2005 that we lost against them in quarterfinals, and they scored 48 points.
Yeah, but
although we played nice basketball.
in the semifinals, they were up by 7 in the last minute or something like that. And some crazy stuff happened, and everything ended with Diamantidis' game winner. So after that, I remember talking to my friends, like, how unlucky is France? So after 17 years, maybe they're getting some luck.
Yeah, all these teams deserve to win the EuroBasket. I mean, the fact that they're here, I mean, it shows that they have something that puts them in this position.
The difference is, like, how do you value a bronze medal, for example? In my opinion, there are 2 teams that wouldn't be satisfied with bronze. That's France and Germany in this case. Spain probably also not that much, but knowing how they were not the favorites, they would appreciate bronze. And Poland,
even for Germany,
and Poland, any kind of medal for Poland is just huge.
But even for Germany, they're playing home.
No, I don't agree. They're playing at such a high level, they wouldn't be satisfied with bronze.
It would be disappointment, but at the same time, man, you're playing home, and still,
the fans would appreciate it, but the
Germany
players
is not that
themselves.
team which is like making semifinals every time.
Yeah, but the players themselves know that it's a golden opportunity. Like, it's not like this German team is a one-time thing. Like, with this roster and also adding some of the players that are not playing here, they can be a force in European basketball for years to come. Germany right now is a legit elite basketball team in Europe.
Okay, I agree with you. Let's just enjoy the semifinals. Rytis Vyšniauskas, thanks a lot for joining me here in Berlin. Thanks a lot for you, all these nice comments, feedback, and everything.
Are we having a Q&A session?
Oh, yes. We have a Q&A session for the next episode between the semifinals and finals. So probably you can start leaving your questions under this video. We will have another YouTube community post as well, where we will be able to ask all these questions.
Also Twitter.
And yeah, just don't forget to press like button if you already watched the whole episode. So probably it's worth it, but it really helps us to grow. And of course, follow us on BasketNews.com.
Thank you.
Hey everyone.
Hey fans, Pau Gasol here.
Courtside 1891 is your home to stream EuroBasket 2022. Visit Courtside 1891 today.
Don't miss the action, live or on demand.